All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Slow Pitch. And today I would like to kind of go through some interesting ideas, one of which is the 30-second commercial. We've talked about that before, but I wanted to kind of recap this in a different way. One of the things that I've found is that when people do a commercial, they tend to go on a little too long and a little too much. And so part of the goal of this is to just say, hey, listen, it's just not that complicated. Let's just make this really simple. So let's try to do a little information for you and see if this helps at all. So to start us off today, we're just going to talk about when you should use it, how to prepare for it, and give you some examples really. So the preparation really is important because if you get to an event and you end up wandering around talking to people and just blah, while vomiting all over them when you talk to them, that's going to be a problem. People don't want to listen to that. And so what you want to make sure is you're very targeted in what you're saying, describing what you're needing to get across. You need to make sure that it's clear and just being able to present it correctly. So you have to, and the other thing is you have to kind of adjust quickly because things don't always work out as easily or as quickly as you like to. Sometimes you have to think on your feet. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But for starters, I think one of the things that you're going to end up using uh, a 30-second commercial is when you're doing your networking events. And if you're walking around talking to different people, you have a limited amount of time and then they want to move on. They want to talk to somebody else. They want to go to the next person. And I totally get that. That's understandable. When you're meeting new people also, sometimes that comes up where like, hey, what do you do? And just get into that conversation. When you do that, the interesting part is that people will ask you, what do you do? And if you don't have a quick answer for them, you're going to end up not getting across what you need to get across so that they can make some decisions as to whether or not you're a good referral source or you're a good person to keep in contact with or what have you. So there's a bunch of other areas where that might come into play. So for me, there's a couple different elements of a 30-second commercial. When you're doing a 30-second commercial, you want to have an emotional reaction, an emotional response. And so to me, there's, hey, you're going to start it out with just a simple introduction. Hi, my name is Rob. I have done blah, 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 right? So that once you get past the hi, my name is Rob, my company name, then you get into the trigger part where you have to figure out what's the emotional connection you're trying to make. So let's play this out. You're at a networking event and somebody says, hey, what do you do? And if you're a printing company, maybe one of the things that you could say is, hey, my name is Rob. I work with master printers. We're experts in printing, but I'm not even sure you're going to need that. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. And so you start to learn a little bit about what they're all about and what they might need printing for. And so now you're going to target and tailor your commercial to match what it is that they say that they do. So, for example, they say, I own a small business. And we do send, they send out stuff for mailers and information every once in a while, and may need a contact to be able to help them with their printing materials. Okay, fine. Based on that, your messaging might be something as simple as, and from a standpoint of how they're coming across and how you want them to understand you a little bit. It might be, hey, you know what, what you're talking about is totally normal. I work with master printers and one of the give you a good example here is last week we had a person come into the shop and they were interested in printing something. They were kind of in frantic mode. They needed something done really quickly. They had an event coming up and they had to have about 1,000 brochures printed off so that they would be done in time. And it was more like a one sheet kind of a thing. They needed it designed and they needed it printed quickly so that they could be ready for their event. And that's kind of a situation that happens all too often. They come in frantic, they have a tight deadline, and they need to have something done quickly and correctly before the event comes out. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up having the quick conversation, did a little brainstorming about what messaging they were trying to come across. And honestly, what they ended up getting was exactly what they needed, which was a piece of material that they could insert into the other things that were going on for that event, and they could do it in a timely manner. And then you have to kind of end it with, hey, what are some of the benefits? So we kind of talked a little bit, but that the hook then becomes, hey, I'm not sure if this is even something that would be of interest of you or that this is even a problem that you would ever have. Um, how does that set with you, or how does that sound? And what ends up happening if you end up having that quick commercial, we had this problem, we were able to fix it, and that happens every once. So I'm not supposing, I have no, I don't suppose you'd have this problem at all on your end, or would never have that problem, would you? And you know what they might say is, you know what, no, that may never come up, and that's okay. And so now you know that's never going to be an issue for them, or it hasn't been so far. Based on that, totally fine. But what if they answered with, you know, that actually happened to me last month and we couldn't get that done in time. We actually missed the deadline. Tell me more. All of a sudden you're engaged in a conversation where they can actually learn from you about, or you can actually learn from them what their problems were with that, how they dealt with it. Let them tell you more about their problems. And then at that point, you might even say, if you're at a networking event, you might even say, maybe we should grab a cup of coffee, or maybe I should come by and just talk and just kind of share with you what we do. And you can tell me whether or not it even makes sense if we continue on anymore. Based on that, that might be helpful. And so I don't know that that's something that's helpful for you as a listener here, but 30-second commercials are not an easy thing to do. They are things that are a little complicated sometimes because you want to say a lot in a short amount of time. But I found that if you find a pain point or an issue that resonates with them, so they may have a situation where they become very angry when this happens, or they are disappointed, or they're frustrated. Those types of emotions then become something that they can kind of remember and keep in their back of their head. When they do that, what happens is they end up with a memory slot that goes to you. And that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who can then say, this is the person that I just spoke with, and this is going to be somebody that can help me with this situation. Listen, I don't know if you have any questions or problems that you run into when you're in sales, but if you do, by all means, email us at questions@theslowpitch.com. Also 608-708-SLOW. You can reach us at either way and send your question, and we can help you out. So hopefully we get some of those from you. So a couple of good examples of when I was able to identify when a good 30-second commercial is necessary or needed was when I was at a I was at a chamber breakfast. And at the breakfast, we go around the table and everybody does their little 30-second commercial. Well, it happened to be that particular time, there was an individual from a company that I wanted to get in front of. And so I targeted my commercial to make it make sense for that person. That person was a nonprofit organization. They were having troubles raising funds, and they wanted to, you could tell that I knew that was the issue that I wanted to talk about. And so my commercial became, hi, my name is Rob. I do the Slow Pitch podcast. And you know, sometimes people have these issues where they're trying to raise funds for their nonprofits, and they run into the situation where they can get some money, but it's never as much as they really needed to organize and get everything done that they needed to get done. And I don't suppose that anybody here at this table would ever have this problem ever. But if you do, please, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, because this may be something that I can help you with. And in a 30-second commercial, obviously there was a couple of pain points that I inserted in there earlier. But basically what that does is it gives them the ability to think in their head, do I have that problem? You know, I do. Let's engage in a conversation. And so that's what actually happened after that meeting. We ended up having a conversation after that meeting, or after that breakfast, and ended up getting in a longer meeting in their office. We had a business luncheon, same type of thing. There's evening events, all these things that you can do these things with, where you can very quickly get to the point of, here's what my problem is. Put people into a position of triggering them to remember when this happens to them. If you're a plumber, have you ever had it where you turn the water on and nothing comes out? Or you're all of a sudden you went to go take a shower and you can't get any hot water. Have you ever had something like that happen? That's probably a water heater issue, or blah, 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 right? So all of those types of things can happen. So when you have that happen, make sure that you answer those questions, but also asking them some questions back once you get engaged into that conversation helps a lot. So I don't know if this helped you at all, but if it did, please feel free to share this content so that people can take a listen and see if it's something that they could use. But by all means, I really appreciate you guys listening and enjoy doing the stuff that we do. So until next time, don't forget, slow down and close disclose more.